It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Now, you can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting if you email me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Our guest today, this is a fascinating topic, and I'm obsessed with this stuff. Our guest is Hannah Wilson, and what she does is she's a online decoy. She goes online into chat rooms and Instagram and message forums and stuff like that, and Facebook, and pretends to be a little kid, and she gets flooded with these perverted pedophiles who contact her and try to meet her in person. She delivers that information to these other guys that go out there in person and confront these pedophiles in real life. We did a show on this in the past. I think I called them YouTube Predator Catchers, I think. So you can check that one out. It's the same kind of thing. But ironically, the two guys are at war with each other. They don't even get along with each other. The last guy I interviewed and the woman and the fellow that Hannah Wilson works for. So we'll get into all of that. Hannah Wilson, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Before we get into your work as a decoy and all this good work you're doing here, tell us about yourself. Who is Hannah Wilson?
Well, my name is Hannah Wilson. I'm 24 years old. Other than the work that I do for Predator Poachers, I own a few businesses. One of them being Making A Marigolds, and it's a coloring book company for a cause, coloring for a cause. And so when somebody buys a book, one book is donated to children in need. So it's like a buy one, get one kind of business concept. And I'm also working on a non-government organization, nonprofit, called WISH, WWWISH. And I haven't come out public with it yet, but it's along the lines of, saving children and turning my leads into law enforcement and cyber tip lines, stuff like that.
Okay, now that's so cool. Now, what is it about Hannah Wilson that makes you, that tugs your heart for these kids, that makes you do this coloring book, Making a Marigold? You want to do this NGO, the WISH thing? What is it that inspires you to do all this?
Well, I'm a mother, and I became a mother, when I was young, and I didn't have any help. And I have, two younger siblings as well who are, very special to me and have been victimized online by these online predators. And when I was younger, I was victimized as well by online predators and stuff like that. People in chat rooms, taking advantage of younger children, just stuff like that. That stuff, it's just finding the justice for the victims of this.
I got you. And you're 24 years old, so you've been on the internet your whole life practically. Do you find that this activity of adults trying to contact young children online is getting worse?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
This kind of work of, predator catching or exposing people and, police working with us, law enforcement working with us, we need more of it because it's only going to get worse. The children are only going to be younger, who are accessing the internet and talking to these people.
Yeah, there seems to be more apps popping up every day that I've never heard of. Snap and WhatsApp, and then they're talking about Signal, which reporters were using at first, and Telegram and all these things. Take us through the process. Hannah Wilson wakes up in the morning. What do you do?
Well, I do it full time now.
Right.
So other than taking care of my daughter, I'm a full-time decoy. I wake up and I log on to the accounts. I have multiple underage decoy accounts on Instagram and on Facebook. And I also have a adult fake trader account, you can call it. And that's where I pretend to be a fellow pedophile and infiltrate the groups that they have of trading CP, child pornography. So
yeah, you can talk regularly. It's not like TikTok or YouTube where we have to talk like in code.
I know. I was worried.
I was telling another guest the other day, and I said, when you talk on TikTok, you have to say unalive. You can't say dead or suicide. And instead of saying gun, you have to say pew pew. And he just goes, what? He says, that's what they do. You say pew pew. Okay, so listen. You have kids at home. Okay, how old are your kids?
She's 2. I only have 1.
Okay, so you got the 2-year-old kid at home. I raised a 2-year-old kid. And I work in a home office on a computer all day long, too, with a lot of traumatic stuff, okay, as well.
Right.
Now, what does that do for your emotional state, man, where you got to deal with all these weirdos all day long and still be able to have a shining light for your kid?
If I didn't see these people get arrested, majority of the time, and if I didn't see them get convicted and the $100,000 bonds or $1 million bonds, I probably wouldn't be able to continue this work. But seeing, justice be served and seeing that I'm a part of that, it adds a whole new light to it, and I don't even have to think twice about doing this.
Gotcha. Now, take us through the process. Okay, you have an account set up. What would the average age of one of your accounts be?
Typically, it's 11 to 13. The age of consent is different in different states, and we do this all over the country. So we try to keep it neutral in case, say we have a case that goes on for a year. We don't want the decoy to be of age of consent,
right,
within a year. So, some of these cases take a while, for sure.
So then what happens? So the age of your account is about 11 to 13 years old. And I guess you have pictures on there?
Yes, yeah.
And do you have to update these accounts every day, making little comments and posts and, memes and things on it to make it look like it's a real account?
Yeah, absolutely. Filters, music, all kinds of different posts, stories. We have to engage daily with these pedophiles, or else they'll get suspicious or they'll get frustrated with us and they'll block us. You just never know.
No, absolutely. And I've done online investigations too, using fake accounts and spoof accounts and decoy. We never called them decoy accounts. I don't think we did. But now, are these accounts aged? Like, they've been active for a couple of years, so people say, hey, this was just created. This is BS.
Yeah. We have accounts. I mean, some of our accounts get, if it's a certain age, like Instagram has an age limit. Right. I think it's 13. So, if I'm posing as an 11-year-old, somebody can report it and say, oh, this is an underage account. And then our account is deleted. So, yeah, we have accounts that I've had an account that's at least 3 years old. So, yeah, and we have new ones, old ones. It doesn't matter, really. Nobody really questions that part of it.
But I guess you're creating new accounts all the time, too, in order to, have them in backlog, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then these are you try to be provocative on these accounts, like what do they call it? Kids, they call it precocious. Okay, do you try to act like precocious on these accounts, or just totally play it innocent?
No, the best way to play this, and the only way that we do this, is by. But we're completely innocent. I mean, from the start, the predator will message us first. Our ages are typically in the bios. If not the age, it's the grade. And they'll message first. We never message first. We never initiate that. And from there, we just gather the information that we can. And typically, me personally, I can speak and say that I've found a way. Well, me and a few other coworkers, we found a way into these child pornography groups to where that, if one person follows us, 20 other people who are a part of their trading group will follow us as well. So,
okay, we'll get to that in a second. But back to do you have like the 11 to 13-year-olds, right? Do you have like a friends list to show like do you have other kids following them?
Yeah, sometimes. Typically, yeah. That's what we try to do. We try to blend it in and follow celebrities and stuff like that.
There you go. That's a good idea. Yeah. And then so then when these guys start contacting you, what do they say?
It really ranges. Typically, it's hey, you're cute, or how are you? And then within the first 1 to 2 messages, we tell them, we drop the age, and that gives them the choice. Do I want to continue talking to this kid, or do I want to stop?
And then they get graphically sexual?
Yeah, typically.
And then what happens first? They send you pics, or they ask for you to send them pics?
They can ask for pics, and we're never going to send it. We send selfies, it's never going to be anything unclothed,
right,
or provocative. It's nothing like that. Send a selfie to verify you're real. Okay, we'll do that. And they'll send pictures. It's all on their own accord. When they send the lewd pictures, or if they send, whatever they send is on what they decide to send,
And you have some kind of like an age modificating software that you could take a picture of yourself and send it to them?
Yes. Yeah, we have a few that we use.
And it doesn't look fake? I guess now with AI, right? It's getting better, right?
Yeah, I mean, it helps that, our decoys are younger looking, so we can pull it off easier, especially when it comes to the video calling and stuff like that, to verify that we're real and that they're comfortable with us.
Now, do you have a location on your Facebook page?
No.
Okay, so then you wait for them to tell you where they live, and they say, "Oh yeah, I live there too," right?
Yep. Yeah, it's like, oh, so convenient.
Now we can talk for the guy. We'll talk about the guy you work for.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So when Alex Rosen from Predator Poachers, when he confronts a lot of these people in person, most of them don't appear to be the brightest or the sharpest knife in the toolbox, right, or the drawer. Like a lot of these people are like really, really. Some of them have mental disabilities, right?
Yeah, definitely. We have had quite a few disabled pedophiles. I'm not sure why. I think it is a lot easier, to find them as well, because Alex does a lot of house calls. And so, the smarter pedophiles, we're probably not going to get their address as fast, as somebody who's like, oh yeah, here's my number, here's my address, here's my name.
Right. Right. Yeah. So okay, right. It's the slower ones that are easier to catch. Yeah. Okay. And how do you do that then with the video calls? Because you can't look 12 or 13 if you're 24. My daughter's 24.
Yeah. Well, our decoys we're okay. So I don't do the video calls as much. I'm really good with chatting and sending pictures, and sometimes I'll send videos or whatever, but most of the time I'm not asked to video call. They trust me pretty much. But my coworkers, honestly, we have one, and she's 4'11". Her name's Priscilla, and she looks really young and can pull off that 11-year-old age decoy.
Right. Do you have like a group chat in case you're both working on the same guy, and hey, share that kind of information with each other?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have a work group chat. Okay,
that's great, man. This is really sophisticated. Like a sophisticated operation. It's like a Mission Impossible. These guys over here, right? I'm impressed over here. Okay,
we really want to use it. succeed with this for sure.
Well, that's why we were talking off the air. That you got to have this in report form. We got to talk about that. You got to have Alex should be walking up to their door. I get so frustrated sometimes when I see him. I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. Okay, even though our politics could not be more opposite. But when I see him walking up to the door and he's got these papers all crumpled up and he just tries to hand it to the cops, why not have a nice binder there? I'll buy him a binder. I'll buy him a binder and a 3-hole puncher. All your chat logs and stuff like that, you put it in the binder. It would just be so much more professional.
Everybody has so many amazing suggestions, and I think he's just trying to keep up with them.
No, I hear you with that too. Okay, because trust me, I get emails all over the place too, people suggesting to me too. Now, what happens, okay, because I'm a digital forensic investigator, people send me their cell phones and their hard drives and stuff. What happens if someone sends you some child pornography? What do you have to take that to the police right away?
Absolutely. So what our first step is to do is don't screenshot it.
Right.
Don't save it. Make sure that, it's not going to be saved, and immediately report it. We report it to the Internet Crimes Against Children cyber tip line, and we keep all the receipts of that, of our report. But typically, we're not sent child pornography. Even on my fake trader account, I have in my bio, don't send pics, don't send videos. I don't want my account deleted, and that stops them from sending anything. So it's pretty rare when that happens.
So now, what about when you make this report? I guess ICAT you send it to?
Yes.
Then what happens then? Have you ever had your computer seized where they show up and say, "Hey, we'd like to, Hannah, knock, knock, knock. We'd like your computer. We're working on a case." Has that ever happened to you yet?
No, and hopefully, let's just hope that doesn't happen. Knocking on wood.
Yeah.
But I have had my phone seized by Maine State Police. I've had to send it in by mail for a case that they did end up prosecuting the guy on for child pornography. But
yeah, that stuff's going to happen. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to tell Tommy when he was on the phone on the show a couple of years ago. I says, as you're making all these cases, I says, you understand, a year or two down the road, you're going to be testifying every month, every week. Can you handle that? So, because this whole process of doing this online YouTube Predator catcher thing is fairly new, right? Like 5 years old?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pitfalls ahead with all this, man. Do you have any horror stories, like where you had trouble with the cops or trouble with prosecutors or anything?
Never. I have had interviews. I've had to go out of my way, a few times to assist with cases, but it's nothing, that I wouldn't do to make sure that a case gets prosecuted. I've had to meet with a Florida state attorney 2 months ago for a Port St. Lucie catch that I had. And then I had to go to my local sheriff's office and give a witness statement for a teacher that I had decoyed recently. And, it's things that, it's not strenuous. And Alex usually does all of the testifying, court dates and stuff like that.
Right, but and I've seen him hand over his report. I know you got a lot of digital stuff you send over passcodes and stuff like that. They can access your chats and things. But so you've never been subpoenaed to come in and testify, either by the defense or the prosecution?
No.
Okay, that's interesting.
I've given witness statements and certified witness statements, but they've never had. And since we're all over the states, I'm located in Texas, so
okay.
I would have to fly out for any of these, which I'm willing to do, but all of them have said that's not necessary. So,
okay, well, I'm sure too, because so many of these cases, it seems like these guys just start confessing. Start confessing. And Alex is one of the best interrogators I've ever seen in my life. This guy's amazing.
Absolutely, it's so helpful that he can go there and sit down for hours and have people spill their deepest, darkest secrets. It's crazy.
Yeah, the guy's a natural. As far as interrogating or questioning a witness, this guy is he's 24 years old too himself, or 23, 24?
Yep.
Yeah, the guy's born to do this, man. And he's a big, intimidating figure. His dress code, I would recommend an upgrade to look a little bit more professional. He shows up. But it's gotten a little bit better. No more holes in the T-shirts like it used to be, right?
Yeah.
How is Alex to get along with in the background? Is he a demanding boss? He seems like a fun guy sometimes, right? But is he a demanding boss with you?
No, he's not demanding, but it's very professional. He's very professional about our work that we do, so that's helpful.
Now, you mentioned, too, now you also I think Alex is the one who came up with this whole plan of going after CP, child pornography traders, right? He's the one that really came up with that idea, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Whole innovation. So take us through that. Yeah. So take us through that process. You're spending 1 minute acting like an 11-year-old, and now you got to act like an adult pervert. What do you do?
It's not, I have to say things that are not true and that are not who I am or not, what I'm proud of, but it's things that will get these men to say what they need to say. We just had a catch with a guy named Richard 3 days ago, and he was somebody that I decoyed on that fake trader account, and he admitted to me to molesting his niece and molesting a neighbor's daughter who was 4 years old, and his niece was 5 years old. So, and when Alex went to go interrogate him, he ended up admitting to both of those a second time, his first time in person, but he had already admitted it over messages.
Gotcha.
So he pretty much, he confirmed, what we had already knew.
And he was arrested, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now, how many people are trading back and forth in this kind of material?
If I do this forever, I'll never run out of work.
Do you see the same names over and over again, or it's just unlimited names?
It's unlimited names. There are major players that I know and I'm in contact with, or that we've caught already. But mostly, it's new people every day.
Okay, and these guys too, they must be watching these videos too as well, and probably members of locals and things like that, right? To see what's going on, especially if you're doing a live, they can get an advance tip. Hey, that's my house. Let me get out of here. Alex is walking up to my front door. Let me go. Are they more suspicious and careful now that they see that there's all this spotlight being shown on them?
Absolutely. There's more people out here willing to defend pedophiles than there are willing to join the fight against them, it seems. And they're willing to, out our accounts on social media or, contact everybody on our friends list and say, hey, this is a fake account. And so that happens all the time, for sure.
So just imagine these people out there, and you're communicating with them, right, about the trading this child pornography. These are people we walk by in the street every day.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Doesn't that make you more?
It's sickening.
Yeah, well, it's sickening, of course, but doesn't that make you more paranoid?
Yeah, it does, especially when they're so close to home. When I have some that may be in my city or in my state or maybe, areas that I frequent. It's intimidating for sure.
Yeah, especially when you have like a brand new little baby,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. What about problems like when Alex gets there and the cops don't want to cooperate? Do you have any stories like that you could tell us?
Oh, yeah. I have a few that have been that way. Luckily, not too many, but there was one, and the guy's name was Edwin, and I think it was North Carolina. And just one cop showed up to the scene, and he was just not willing to help. and it was a huge ordeal. And also, the guy that I had in Maine that I had to send my phone off for, he also wasn't arrested on the spot, but he admitted to molesting his brother, and he admitted to having child pornography on his phone. But the police refused, to do anything about it at the moment. So our local community joined together and contacted the police and made a big social media uproar. And I think that helped get our case moving along faster, for sure.
Recently, I was watching one, and Alex went to this trailer park, and they issued him a citation for, I think it was an assault or on this young boy, this young man who came out to the house making a beef. What's the outcome of that?
Yeah, I did watch that live. I saw he was trying to protect the mom because there was issues, the boy was being aggressive or whatever. So he didn't know either that he was an underage kid. I don't really know how that played out. I didn't know if he received a citation or not for it, but I know that it went away pretty quickly. Yeah,
at the time he did receive a citation and an appearance to appear in court, which is like an arrest, But I tried to send him some advice on that. You need a local attorney. You got to hire a local attorney who knows the right judge for the right, prosecutor, and get in there and put a squash to that before that first hearing, which it can be done. And if you're in a town where you don't know any local attorneys, what you do is you call the local bail bondsman. They know all the lawyers, they know all the judges, they know all the prosecutors, and they can advise you on which attorney to hire for what judge in what district and all kind of stuff, and what prosecutor. If you're ever out of town, you need to hire an out-of-town attorney. Oh, boy, what a mess, man, this whole thing is. Do you find this work satisfying?
Yes, I do.
And how would you like to take this? Everyone's ambitious. You want to, move up in the organization, right? Or move up in your career. What would you like to do next?
Well, I've been doing research on becoming a private investigator. But ultimately, I've always wanted to become a detective, and ever since I was little, I watched Dateline with my family. They were like, go to bed, it's 8 p.m., and I would stay up and watch Dateline with them. So I became a teenager, and I said, I want to become a homicide detective. Well, little did I know all the work that you have to put in to become one of those. So I definitely want to move up in my work that I'm doing now. I want to expand it. And the nonprofit that I mentioned, I want to expand that as well. And continue to clean up the internet, clean up the internet streets for our children and our children's children who are going to be using the internet as well.
Okay, then let me ask you this. If Hannah Wilson can just log on the internet and find all these people and find all this stuff, why can't Facebook and Instagram put in filters to prevent this?
I wish I could speak for them because it's crazy what they allow on their platforms and what they say that they're fighting the child pornography and they're trying to do something about it, but they're not doing it, But they can flag a post that has a curse word in it, but they can't flag something that has child pornography in it or something related to that. So it's kind of disappointing seeing what they've done for us.
I've had so many YouTube channels taken down, and I know Alex has too, and they accused me of bullying Jeffrey Epstein. What was one of my, another one was medical misinformation and election, denialism. When meanwhile, I'm no doctor. I got no medical information. I don't know a damn thing about it. And I think the election was fair. Okay. But then I see these YouTube channels, and I haven't looked at it lately, but a few years back, some people sent me some code words you could search up on YouTube. And what would pop up would be these accounts of little 9-year-old girls. Sometimes there were 6 or 7 of them, right? In a pool and jumping around, all kind of stuff like that. And all the comments Every single comment was about masturbation and sex and all this kind of stuff. Every single comment. So much so that if you wanted to log into that and watch that video, you had to prove you are over 18 in order to watch a video of a 9-year-old. Now, I don't know if that's been cleaned up or not, but that'll give you an idea. There's no way they can't screen for those kind of comments and see what are they commenting on. Oh, look at this, it's a little kid. There's no way they can't stop that.
Yeah, no. It's for them to say that they are doing something, they're lying to us, for sure.
It's almost as if they're encouraging it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because why are, children dancing in skimpy clothing being recommended to people who don't want to see that? And these pedophiles, they'll follow these underage kids, like these 9-year-olds who post their dancing videos. And they're recommended more children that do dancing and more children, that are, that have Instagram accounts. It's just feeding them, more children. If you want to see children, you will see them for sure.
And it would be so easy to write software just on the comments. If you see a bunch of perverted comments on somebody's account, we'll flag that account. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Now, with this adult trading stuff, right? Are they trading for money? Is this a big money operation?
Surprisingly, child pornography is very affordable, according to the people that we've caught. They'll pay $20, $10 maybe for a link that has 100 videos and pictures, or maybe 200 pictures and videos per link. And they're paying $10 for it. So I'm sure somebody out there is making money off of it, but I haven't really dug deep into that part.
And when you're seeing this stuff being traded around, does it appear to you, like from the titles and the descriptions, that it's the same content over and over, or is it constantly new content being produced?
Yeah, it's both. Sadly, it's both. You will see a lot of people asking for certain people by names, like, hey, do you have this person? Yeah, or do you have this person's videos? Or I'm looking for this. It varies by category. There's new videos made, and there's old ones being recycled. It's just a mixture of both, for sure.
I just interviewed a guy who wrote an article about this guy from North Carolina who was a mercenary who went to Ukraine and was part of the coup in Ukraine in 2014. And they were down there with a bunch of Nazis and all kind of guys. And it's amazing what these guys got away with, too. One of them went and put landmines around his ex-wife's house trying to kill her. Okay. And these other two guys went and they killed some guy in Miami. They were trying to sell him some guns. They killed him. They tried to get on a boat to go down to Venezuela. They killed the boat captain. These guys are just running around doing whatever they want. But one of the things, they caught one of these guys with hundreds and hundreds of images of child pornography on his phone. And what the speculation is that these guys over there in Ukraine are producing child pornography. They're going door to door anyway. They're taking hostages, killing people. They could have access to orphan kids in order to do this stuff. Have you run across anything like that?
No. Like I said, we don't really see a lot of the child porn. And, they do have these videos of these little Ukrainian, Russian girls dancing and stuff. A lot of our guys that we catch talk about, they're trading pictures of Ukraine or Russian girls. And a lot of trading groups are in Russian, language and other languages, like foreign languages.
Is that the majority you see that's being produced overseas?
Yeah. There are, like I said, the ones that are being recycled are mostly the ones that are from America, so the ones that people ask for.
Oh, okay, right. But then the ones the new stuff that's being produced all the time, that's coming from overseas?
Yeah. That's from what we're seeing, at least. And what's being traded, it's in, groups on Telegram. They're in Spanish or they're in Russian. It varies. There's not very many like English speaking ones,
Gotcha. And then when they're selling this, what kind of payment method do they use?
Oh, I'm not sure. I know that Alex interviewed a guy that we caught recently, and he had used PayPal.
Really?
Yeah.
Now you think they could track that, right?
I have no idea. It's so unreal how this stuff is out here still.
What frustrates you, especially when you stop and think, anybody, no one's in favor, or at least publicly in favor of child pornography, of child abuse. But then you see when Alex comes into contact with these cops, the first thing they say is, well, we've never dealt with anything like this before. You think that would be their priority that they're going out working on. But they're all out there working on DUIs and stuff, the easy stuff. So what is the most frustrating case you've had? Someone you've been trying to hunt down and slips away from you?
Well, I've had quite a few. But I would say there was this one guy, and he went under the name of Beowulf. Yeah. That was his name. And he was catfishing me as somebody that he went to school with in high school. And it wasn't his pictures. He was using a fake name and said he lived in a whole different state. And I talked to him for about 2 years until I finally uncovered his real identity. I can't remember how I found it. I just it may have been through a new phone number that he had given me that I ran on Truthfinder. I don't know how I found it, but I found it, and I was shocked. And up until the point of Alex confronting him, I wasn't sure if his identity was fake or not, So that was such a frustrating case. But he was arrested for child pornography, so that was successful. There was one other, and it was a teacher that I had talked to. He's an elementary school teacher in Buffalo, New York. And we just caught him recently. I had to talk to him for 13 months because, I couldn't find his identity, and it was very frustrating. And I kept up and kept talking to him because I knew he was such a high-profile person, so somebody who's around children constantly. So that was very frustrating to get.
Now, when you're talking to these guys for 2 years and 13 months, do you ever feel sorry for them, or you kind of like build a relationship with them, or look forward to talking to them?
No, not at all.
Not even.
I dread talking to them, honestly. Yeah. And no, I don't feel bad for them because they always do something disgusting. The teacher, he had a garbage disposal fetish and a foot fetish, and it's just these weird, disturbing things that remind you that they're not normal. Like, this isn't an innocent person.
Right.
He knows he's talking to a child. He knows that he's grooming a child, And if I was a real child, they would be getting damaged.
Do they ever give you email addresses?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we ask for it.
Oh, really? They'll just give it to you right away?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially with Google Chat and stuff like that.
Okay. And phone numbers?
Yes.
So they'll give you their phone number, their email address, their first name, I'm sure, right? And then the city where they live?
Yeah, most of the time.
Okay. Yeah, that's not too hard to find, right?
No.
Ever use anything like Read Notify?
The what?
ReadNotify.com.
No, I've never heard of that. What's that?
It's a website you can join up. It's like $3 a month, and you can send somebody an email using the Read Notify server, but the person who receives the email doesn't notice that. Okay? So when you send somebody an email like oppermanreport@gmail.com, you'll put in .readnotify.com. So you're using an email address on the Read Notify website. So when you send them the email, you can see information about their computer when they open up the email, like their IP address, sometimes the city where they live. You can pick up some pretty good information. And then if you have some other information, like you find that you have a suspect, and Alex runs the address and the name of that person, and he sees a different email on that. If you email that one, you can make a comparison, and it's almost like a fingerprint. You can prove the guy who's been chatting with you online here is the same guy in that house that Truthfinder or whatever service you're using. It matches up.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot we could be doing.
I didn't know. I didn't know about that, but now that I do, I'm going to use that.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff here. And I noticed, too, Alex uses these, like, over-the-counter database searches. He doesn't have anybody who's, like, a lawyer or a process server or a detective or anybody who can give him access to, like, the real databases?
Not that I know of. I'm sure he has somebody, but I'm not in contact with them. And we really just utilize what we have. Yeah. What we can, So.
Yeah. I try to send him little tricks on how to locate these people. There's a bunch of little tricks he could do. It's just amazing. That just the average person would just never think of. Oh, boy. Let's see. What else, man? What else? Is there any questions I haven't asked you that you want the audience to know about this process?
Let me see.
No,
not really.
I know one of your concerns was that you want the audience to know that you guys are out there looking to make prosecutions and wanting law enforcement to really take action on this and make arrests. Why don't you tell us about that a little bit?
Well, I wish, well, not wish. I would like law enforcement to embrace the vigilantes, that they call us.
Right.
It would be nice if they could embrace the resources and the information and evidence that we provide. We know that sometimes they can't make an arrest on the spot, but going through our evidence and at least giving it a shot, is a big deal, because we know that we're saving real children. We're posing as children, and people can, they can say, "Oh, you're luring," and we're not. We're not luring anybody. It's not entrapment. And these people are seeking out children, and they're finding us when they're, seeking out real children. And we're interfering with that. So we just want justice, and that's our biggest goal for all of this,
I notice sometimes, especially in the small towns, when the cops show up, some of the times it's really obvious that they know the guy, okay? And sometimes that they're trying to pretend they don't know the guy, but you can kind of tell that, hey, he probably knows this guy. One time he already knew the guy's name. A couple of times, as a matter of fact. That guy in Santa Claus, they knew all about that guy. Remember that one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alex got in trouble for taking the guy's phone. I tell you, he's improved so much over the years, man. You watch this guy; he's learning his craft over here. But do you ever? Does that ever concern you that the cops know this guy? The guy could be an informant. Could be their confidential informant who works with them all the time, and you're not going to get any results that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's people that we've caught, and they're in the middle of a case, and there's this guy we had talked to for a while, and he fell off, and we still decided to confront him. And he's like, "Oh, no, I'm already in a case for this. I can't talk about this. My lawyer said I can't talk about it." So he's already being investigated for talking to underage children. And we've had that a lot. I mean, we've had one of my guys, they say, "Oh, well, we're already looking into him for child pornography. We're already investigating." And you're just letting him do his thing, and we're out here trying to actually get him arrested. But we don't want to interfere with any cases. We don't try to. All the evidence we have is just what we've obtained.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating, and it's one of the biggest frustrations is getting the police to do their job, like nudging them along. You really got to follow up with these guys, man, and establish a rapport with them, and make sure that they're following up on this evidence and this information and stuff like that. Do you have somebody assigned just to that kind of task? Now that there's so many cases all over.
No, I mean, Alex covers it pretty well. We'll just go over our list and he'll make a list of people to call, different police departments that we've already turned our evidence in with, and just follow up on the cases and see where they're at.
So Alex is aware of the people you're talking to as you're talking to them?
Yeah, we try to keep him as updated as possible. There's not very many of us decoys. There's only a few, so it's easier for him to keep up with, who we have.
So then how many targets are you juggling right now as you're wasting time talking to me that they're out getting away with all this stuff? How many cases are you working on right now?
Oh, goodness. Between all of my accounts, it's over 30 people currently. But our catch lists, they range from every time Alex goes on a trip, which is every 2 weeks. I turn in, minimum 10 pedophiles on a list, and, each decoy does the same. So that's our minimum. Sometimes we'll have 15 per trip. It just depends. It's so hard because you want to catch them all, but you can't because there's just so many, and they just keep popping up. He'll go to the West Coast, and we'll have 10 pop up on the East Coast. So it's all over the place when it comes to that.
What a mess, man. And how many, if you're handing over 10, and how many other decoys are there? 5 or 6? That's like 50 or 60 you're handing over?
Yeah. There's about 5 or 6. So, but, there's new decoys, and then there's ones that have been here. And so it just varies. But most of the time we turn in about 10 each. So the trip lists are, sometimes it's 40 people on the list. Our lists are pretty long.
That's insane. The guy has so much energy, man, for a young guy,
Yeah, I know. Like, he keeps going on trips every 2 weeks. We're like, when are you going to take a break?
He should take a break and do something about his health, man. Now, what about, are you ever chatting with somebody and you're just so disgusted by them that you just block them? I would be blocking people left and right. I can't stop myself.
If I blocked them, I would be missing out on, saving children. So I wish I could, and after the catch is done, I block them because I'm like, it's kind of like a mental thing. I'm like, okay, I'm done with you. On to the next one. So, no, I mean, I can't block them. I mean, if they're out of the country, yeah, I'll block them. I'll report them. But, if they're in the U.S., I try to hold on to them as long as I can.
Now, what about when Alex has a problem with the local police that they don't want to take his report? Do you follow up with that? Because you can make a report directly to the prosecutor yourself. You can refer a case to the prosecutor. You don't need the police to refer a case to the prosecutor. If you got a good report, you can send that report to the prosecutor yourself. You can also send that report to Child Protective Services in that state or probation and parole. No one has any idea what's going on in these houses or who else is living in there.
Yeah.
What kind of open cases they have?
If the police, when they decide not to come out, what happens is, they turn the cameras off and they go to the police department.
Yeah.
And then just turn in the evidence, the physical evidence, the digital evidence, all of our information. If they're not willing to come out, that's fine. We'll come to them, and if any, child porn is destroyed in the process, we can't do anything about it, and it sucks.
Yeah. And what again is this Wish Foundation you want to create at WWWISH? What is that again?
Something along similar to Predator Poachers, but more of the nonprofit aspect. I've found out that my city doesn't have a cyber tip line or a tip line at all for for these specific responses. And say, we didn't want to confront somebody, or, they blocked me before we could confront them, or whatever the case may be, before we could meet. There's not a tip line. So I wanted to offer those resources to, the police and stuff like that. It's still a work in progress, but it's something I'm looking forward to.
So you're saying those nationwide 1-800-TIPS deals that they have don't cover your city where you live?
No, those do.
Those
but
do, yeah.
The problem is that it's not. They have so many reports coming into those cyber tip lines.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of time to look over, especially when you're submitting new reports. They're not able to look over that stuff, especially if there's somebody, let's say, like in our city. There's nobody I can call. There's nobody I can say, hey, there's a crime that was committed. But, it's weird. It's a weird process. I've reached out to the detectives, and they said that that's what they told me, and I wanted to make a difference about that. So
on your own, you've reached out to your local detectives. What is your relationship with them now? Do they encourage you or they discourage you?
Well, no, he encouraged it, and it was a detective that I worked with to send off my statement.
Right.
And I just asked, I was like, are there any resources? Is there anybody I can work with locally, like to submit these tips,
tips,
and there's nothing. There's nothing. So.
Well, cops, like anybody else, man, nobody wants more work. Everybody wants to put in their 8 hours and go home. They're no different. I can't begrudge them that much, but you would think that this would be a priority, at least, And with some of these cops, it looks like it is, but with others, it just looks like, hey, this is out of my wheelhouse. I don't want to be annoyed.
A lot of people, especially when I've had to talk with investigators and cops on these catches, a lot of them say, thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a good thing. You're doing a good cause. It's not very often that there's cops that say, oh, stop doing what you're doing. Don't do this.
Well, you see them tell Alex that a lot about, you should have come to us first, is what they say.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you see that catch that happened yesterday, I believe? That was my catch.
The cop was like a Karen when he first showed up saying you can't film me and all kind of nonsense. That guy, yeah. What a Karen.
Yeah, so that was frustrating to watch go down for sure.
It really was. But you can go to Locals, Predator Poachers on Locals, and sign up there. I don't know what it is, like $10 a month, $5 a month. I think I'm paying $5 a month because I signed up early. And you can watch these things live sometimes. So this cop shows up, and Alex does this routine where he starts questioning the subject in front of the cop to capture his confession on a body cam. And the cop's trying to tell him, well, you have to read him his rights first. I don't have to read anybody their rights. Anybody can film in public, and plus the guy's not detained. Even the cop doesn't have to read him his rights. That cop knew nothing. Okay, or maybe he was just trying to intimidate Alex just to, we want to go home, go home early. But he seemed to come around later on when he saw how much experience Alex had in doing this, right?
Yeah. And that's typically the response we get after, they find out we have arrests in 46 states.
Hannah Wilson, we're out of time. What would you like to leave us with in 1 minute?
I just wanted to say thank you for having me. This was a unique experience, and I've really enjoyed it.
Well, back to work. You got to get back to work over there and hunt down. Since you got 30 cases you're working on, you get a hold of me when you're down to 15. We'll have you back, all right? Okay, Hannah, thank you so much, okay?
Thank you.
And that's Predator Poachers. That's on Locals. Hannah's coloring book is called Making a Marigold?
Yes.
Making a Marigold. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.